Dave Nelson would normally do this presentation, but Dave could not make this trip. How many of you know Dave Nelson personally? He's been here before. Okay, great. So Dave Nelson is the director for the VMware IT Academy. It is a worldwide program. Now there's two programs that VMware offers, and I often see people get the two programs confused. Can somebody tell me what's the value of the VMware IT Academy? And it's okay in your words or your perspective. And then I'll talk about the other programs. Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Vouchers for the exam.
Yeah, that's a great, I think they've got like a 75% voucher program going on right now, especially really value for the VCA. And we'll talk about the VCA, VMware Certified Administrator. All right, anybody else got any other reason why VMware IT Academy would be important to join or consider for your school?
You have access to their software.
Yeah, that you can also get that through the other program, which is a VMware academic program. So, Rick, are you ready to turn it on?
Yes.
You already turned it on?
I did.
Awesome. So, with that shared, here's the scoop. VMware IT Academy is for the schools that are looking for curriculum that aligns to courseware to help your students work towards a VMware certification, to get the knowledge to pass the VMware professional certifications. The other program, which people sometimes get confused, is the VMware academic program, which allows you to get the software for your research and lab purposes. Now you can also get the software from the VMware IT Academy, but the main difference is one is the door you go through if you want to teach courses, content. The other is the door you go through if you only value the software license for your research or lab purposes. Does that help anyone in the room? All right, as we go through this, let's make sure we're centric to teaching students VMware technology. That's our goal, okay? That's what we're talking about. Now what we really want to do is we want to help students learn storage, virtualization, and cloud computing, right? That's what's going to help them get a job. So that's our motivation for the VMware IT Academy program. All right, now the agenda that we're going to cover, I'm going to talk a little bit about the importance of virtualization and cloud computing. My gut instinct is I don't really need to talk about that a lot. Everybody's kind of like, yeah, okay, I got it already, man. Let's move on. So I'll talk about it at a high level just so we kind of understand where VMware plugs in the industry, because I think that's the critical thing. What are your learners going to get if you bring this into your classroom? Why is it of value? What are some case studies you can give as examples? All right, then we're going to talk a little bit about role-based certification paths. VMware's broken their certifications out quite a bit. Is everybody familiar with the VMware roadmap for certifications already? Okay, if you already know it, raise your hand. Okay, if you don't know it, raise your hand. Wow, I've got a lot of participation on that. Oh, that's awesome, thank you. All right, so we're going to go over that roadmap so the rest of you will know it, okay? Now, the VCA transforms careers and companies. Now, this is VMware's marketing. I don't work for VMware. I'm a partner. Between you and me, I don't know if I agree with that transforms careers. I would probably use a different word other than transforms. What I would say is about a VCA is it gives an opportunity. It gives an overview. It gives an explanation. You're going to walk into an interview and you're going to be competitive. By the way, Bill's seen this 100 times. I'm sure that's why both.
I promise I go to another one. Sorry.
Yeah, that's cool. Anybody who wants to leave, you are not going to hurt my feelings, guys. This is about you, okay? I've been doing this for so long, I don't think anything of it. All right, VCA is important if you want to distinguish yourself. Let me explain. It's going to cost you to come back again. Okay, so VCA helps me on my resume stand out from someone. So if I've got my CCNP, I'm a very good talent in the workplace, so I am going to get a pretty good job. Will we agree? CCNP is pretty high level. If I've got my Linux certification, you know, LPI, I've got my LPIC 1, I'm going to stand out and get a job. But if somebody else comes in the interview and they've also got their CCNP, and I also have my VCA, I'm going to stand out just a little more. Okay? That's kind of what it should do for your learner. All right. The VCA program goals. When VMware first opened this program, if you took it like 4 or 5 years ago, or you went to a train the trainer class, you were probably doing vSphere data centers. And you probably found out it was pretty hard. So you may disagree with that? It was pretty hard. A lot of people were struggling not only to consume the material, but take it back to their school and try to teach it. Because it was going at a very high level in the stack. There was an assumption you already had a lot of knowledge of operating systems, a lot of background on storage, and they were skipping a lot of steps. The VCA is designed for students that can't even spell virtualization. I'm not sure I can, but you get my point. It's to help that student that is brand new to understand what this is, or the concepts. There's several VCA tracks, and there's already training that you can take advantage of to marry to an existing class. You know, a lot of the vendor programs make you teach the entire class. Take this book, you got to start from day one, you got to end with it. How many of you like that model? Probably about zero. Can you raise your hands for me? We got people that may want to know that data. How many of you like the model where you have to stick to the vendor's curriculum? You have no other choice. I've seen people do this, but nobody's willing to raise their hand.
Oh,
Yeah. All right. The nice thing about the VCA track is you can marry this to a Cisco networking class. Here's a module. You can marry it to, operating system, a Microsoft class, and just introduce the basics very easily. And I'll show you how you can do that. Okay, and then the certifications. Earlier it was mentioned you get vouchers. Right now they're running a 75% discount. So that's probably what you want to start paying attention to is how do you go get those discounts. All right. Now why am I here in front of you? I partner with VMware. I've been partnering with VMware about 7 years, and where we really help is on the hands-on lab part. So I'm going to pass out to you accounts so you can do a lot of different labs. VCA labs, VCP labs, if you want to. You don't have to. Yeah, we go all the way to VCP. I saw some heads go, yeah, maybe VCP. Yeah, we'll give you VCP lab accounts too. All right, what we do is develop the software to help academic institutions. Now, I'm not going to stick there a lot because you probably got a feel for us already, but we are corporate social responsible. What's good about my job is we want to help your learners get a job, because one day I want you to say nice things about me to your students when they get at high-end organizations and I'm like looking for a job, okay? That's what this is all about to me, build a good rapport with all those students that are going to run all these companies. EMC Academic Alliance has really good offering in storage, cloud infrastructure services. They have other courses. Kim, what are the other courses you guys have?
The backup recovery systems and architecture, data science, and big data analytics.
That program, in my opinion, is a sweet starting place for information storage management because storage is the cornerstone. If you don't know storage, you're going to be lost when it comes to virtualization and cloud computing in industry. So that ISM course they offer is really strong. The CIS course they work. How many of you have studied the CIS course? I know many of you were in our presentation, but how many of you studied the content? Question for you, if you've already studied the content. Would it be good for a business student? It'd be a sweet spot for a business student. The CIO magazine just came out with an article talking about how business executives are intimidated by information technology, and cloud computing intimidates them even more. And interesting enough, more and more businesses are allowed to outsource their IT and are not forced to consume it internally. So if you, as a business guy, are taking business classes and you're going to go off and be a business person, more than likely, if you're successful in that career and get to a certain decision point, you're going to need to know enough about cloud computing to decide, am I going to buy internal, I pay for the labor to run it, or am I going to buy outsource external? And it goes like a cycle, right? So the CIS course from EMC would be great value for a business student. Great value. All right, Cisco Network Academy, I think it speaks for itself. How many of you have checked out our Linux course? Got a session with Cisco today. If you haven't, just come to that if you want an overview. Tomorrow, Ross Brunson is going to run an intense program about the LPIC 1 level, and then those of you that want an introduction to Linux, Linux Essentials. Linux Essentials is free, so you might want to check it out if you haven't already. Introduction to Linux, and it's getting really high reviews. And that gets us to the VMware IT Academy. Now, the thing I like about the VMware IT Academy is you're teaching virtualization, but we're using their technology to teach all of these other programs. Did you guys know that? So we're using VMware in our lab to teach cybersecurity, advanced technologies that don't have anything to do with VMware. So there's an enabler going on there. So if nothing else, consider their program for that enablement. Now, I did this earlier. Many of you already saw this, but I'd like to set this bar. I don't know about you guys, but if I'm writing checks for somebody's tuition, they better be working their way towards a job or something, because they need to get off my goal, right? How many of your parents would feel that way? Yeah? I mean, you want them to be successful, but at some point you want a return on your investment. So we're here for a reason. Give them a return on investment. There's heavy debt, there's big value, and they're jobs. It kind of transposed that com there, but if you check out dice.com, do a job search in your industry, do these keywords. I did this earlier. Tim's program, I can't stress this enough. Last year when I did this same search all across the U.S., 99,000 jobs was keyword storage. This morning when I did it, 111,000 jobs. You're not teaching storage, I got to ask you why not? At least partly introduce them to storage concepts. All right, when you get to VMware, look at the job numbers, 18,000 jobs. They're jobs. It's just get the skills to get the darn job. You know, that's it. Or, you know, VMware works with a lot of programs. Now, there's a lot of business reasons. Anybody know one of the big business drivers? Well, I don't know about you, but if I own somewhere between 68% of a company, they better align to me. Yeah, right? So, Kim, could you say you own Dave? Is that how it works? No?
I'm sure I would love to.
So EMC and VMware are aligned in a federation with other companies. EMC is a very large organization that has many different subsidiaries. And the nice thing about all of these different programs are all of these are job enablers, and they're all free to you. So a lot of these things that we're getting ready to cover, you can do at no cost or no price. All right, now why is virtualization important? I don't think I really need to cover this in much depth because I think you guys probably know this already. Is there anybody in the room who wants me to go through this, or do we kind of know it's important? It's a no-brainer at this point, right? Okay. Google obviously is saying, hey, this is going to change the world. Of course it is. It's already changed the world how they're doing things. The next 10 years, I think what we've got right now is a lot of learners who are in love with graphical user interfaces and they think they're computer experts. Does anybody disagree with that? Like, I mean, right here, I actually loaded some of these magnetic tapes. 1983. My first summer job in a real professional job, not working in a minute bar or a drugstore, was working in a data center hanging magnetic tapes. A little number would flag, and I'd go hang the tape, and it'd spin up the reel, right? So I was starting out here. I actually loaded card readers. Scared to death, I dropped the box. You know, walking over there. Anybody remember that world? All right. Right about here, you really had to know stuff to really become a computer guy, right? Like your mom or somebody asked you for some help, and you'd be like, I don't know. You know, I got to study this. Then it becomes user-friendly. That's where we're at right now. But what does that mean? I mean, learners that walk in our classroom, they think they know it, right? Because they know how to download an app off of iTunes, right? Or, pardon me, off the Apple Store. Or Microsoft has gone to the Microsoft Store. How many of you are dealing with students that you told them the command line, they look at you and go, what? Why do I need to know the command line? This is a waste of my time. Anybody have that experience with a student? Yeah, you're wasting my time, right? Well, I'll guarantee you that student's not going to work for me if they don't change that out. I guarantee you. So that's why I think this is relevant and important. The student doesn't know it, but on a virtualized platform somewhere with high-end storage, we're commoditizing the cost of delivering that to the students. In other words, somebody's capitalizing for the payout return for many years to come to treat them like they're a cell phone user, where I can make a little money every month off them forever into eternity. And they don't even realize that's what's going on. But that's our opportunity to start educating not only the IT student, but who? The business students. We're letting our enrollments degrade in some cases, and right down the hall there's this whole soft skill healthcare business who need to come get in our classroom if they want to be competitive into the future if they're going to move up in their careers. You might disagree with that? Probably need to do this for your deans or your presidents of the other schools, right? And make it more granular why the healthcare student needs to know a little bit about IT and go to some of these classes, etc. But my point is, as we move to this stack, the student believes it's all magic and they're clicking on icons, but a software engineer made the application work, and somebody like Rick back there, pick on you a little bit, made the platform work, right? Okay. All right, so if we look at the majority of companies that are expanding and trying to make cloud computing work, what are the kind of skills that they're looking for? Well, there's still demand for building private clouds. That means rack and stack those pizza box servers that to the consumers look like this magical cloud. And whether it's just a couple of racks, we're calling it a cloud, or whether it's data centers spread all over the world, we're calling it a cloud, right? Cloud has become the magical buzzword we use. Microsoft commercial, go to the cloud, right? There's demand for that skill to be able to set up that environment, and the VMware IT Academy would give your students that skill. Okay? That's kind of what we're after. Now, this department liaisons, I would argue these are the folks that probably need to know VCA. And look at the amount of growth in that area. What that probably is that business student or someone with good communication soft skills that knows how to tell the story of the business and how that's going to work with the IT department. How many of you have either been the techie or known the techie that can do cool things but can't communicate it to the rest of the company? Anybody been there? I got a few of those working for me, very talented, but oh my God, I would not put them out here in front of you. Nor would I ask that I go to their job. They're very needed. The whole point is there's a lot of need for the soft skills people to start learning about this technology. And the VCA level gives the soft skilled folks, the business student, the healthcare student, the opportunity to be introduced to the material. All right, now as we get advanced into this, I would argue these last three areas, depending on what they're doing, is probably more at the VCP level.
Good. I was just going to say that the departmental liaison, I said all along that it's easier to take a person with super skills and turn them into an itinerant nerd than it is to take a deeply technified person with communication. And so that's the selling point, going to student business or allied health.
I agree. What I'm trying to get across is VMware IT Academy, we think down at this level we're training, the VCP, and we're missing the opportunity to train at the VCA and do it across the entire school because computers are so important for almost every industry and sector that we're working with. And if our enrollments are suffering, I would argue we're not telling the right story, and the VMware IT Academy gives us an opportunity to tell a better story. It's just how do we package it. All right, so as we move through this, there's obviously all kinds of jobs in the cloud computing sector. I don't think we have to go through this, but you already know. It's in the news. It's all over the place. People are investing heavily in the cloud. It's going to continue to grow. The jobs and the opportunities are going to be there. VMware is a huge market leader. I mean, do I need to tell anybody on this, or does anybody need the data? I mean, I can go through this line by line, like Fortune 100, 100% of it's using VMware, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. I won't go farther with all that. Here is an interesting thing, and I think this is important. How many of you have Microsoft at your school? Almost everybody. Microsoft's done a great job, got great programs. I wouldn't walk away from offering things around Microsoft. They've got, some really cool programs, and they've got a really good hypervisor. Does anybody kind of know the gap when it comes to labs and academia when you're doing a research lab between their two offerings? Some challenges? Yeah, so here's where the big difference is. When you look at the hypervisor, when you get to VMware, you can go deeper with more VMs running on top of the hypervisor before it kind of screams uncle at you. Whereas if you try to layer on Microsoft's hypervisor, inter-hypervised VMs running on top of it, it's going to scream uncle at you quicker. So you can do more complex labs in the VMware infrastructure. That's probably the sweet spot for you if you're standing up labs, is when I run VMware on my hardware platform, and then I run VMs on top of that hardware platform, and then VMs inside those VMs so that students can use VMs on top of it. VMware is going to shine when you want to embed the VMs to teach the learning objectives. Does that make sense? Great value for academia for that reason. Okay. All right, their cloud, their business. All right, New York Stock Exchange, so this is just giving you some business case examples. It is everywhere. VMware is being used in a lot of different environments, and a lot of it has to do with what? The VMware APIs are very advanced. So if you're doing a cloud infrastructure services, I'm going to stand up a cloud to deliver something, If I have APIs that allow me to quickly manage that API, my cost of ownership goes down quite a bit. Making sense? Whereas if the APIs are not as advanced, I have to spend more on what? Customized development, right? Also, if it comes out of a package, why do a lot of businesses want to pay an operating system fee? It's cookie cutter. Everything's going to be exactly the same. It's going to be what they need it to do. Their labor costs, in theory, should be less because they have a higher supply of people that know how to do it. VMware is probably a leader for this purpose, this reason. It's one of the reasons we choose VMware. Okay? All right, Revlon. I think the whole point of this is that people often ignore the business value. Like when you think of makeup, you don't think IT. But there's huge dollar value for Revlon. Now, if I were an educator getting in the room and I had 3 women that were considering industry, I would like to highlight this data. Why? Because there's a high probability that this may perk their interest a little bit. But then I would add on to it, I have somebody that I hired as an intern. She's female. I point blank told her, I don't know if it's politically correct. If you stick with this and you really know this, you actually have more upwards mobility than your coworkers. There will be companies that will hire you and aggressively want diversification within their business, and they will look for these skills and values. And it's a gap we forget to remind people of. Companies want to diversify now. There's a lot of opportunity for female learners and other minority groups if they get the skills. Anyone disagree with that? So it's relevant beyond a shadow of a doubt. Then what about the kids that walk into the room and they are into pop culture, or they got their motorcycle helmet on? These businesses that they consume their products are absolutely using these products and technologies to lower their costs, to have higher margins, make more profit. What's the point of these examples? Making it relevant to the learner's day-to-day life. I have a student that works for me as an intern right now. She's actually bridging over to project management. 4-year university, she's in her 5th year. She's a junior, and she is extremely sharp. You know why she's on her 5th year? The things she's learning at a very high-end 4-year school is so theoretical, she's struggling to be motivated in the classroom because she cannot bridge the gap what she's being taught in the classroom to what's going to happen in industry. She told me the other day, over the holidays, I'd rather go to work than go to school. School, they don't teach it in a way that it feels practical. I have no idea why I'm doing it. I'm just mechanically doing it, and they're teaching me a lot of theory that's wasting my time. I guarantee you half of this classroom has some young man who loves motorcycles or loves NASCAR, or if you can tell the IT story in a way that is relevant to things he loves in his hobby, something he loves in his life, something he can do in a career that he's interested in, he will be 2, 3, 4, maybe 10 times more motivated than ever before. To me, this is the value of the VMware IT Academy, is bridging to your classroom how this is being used in industry and how it makes a difference. Okay, Southwest, a lot of us fly and we do vacation. These industries really value these computing powers now and these tools. How many of you have, if you fly much, do you have the little app for your airlines and you get the notices right away? It's changed our life, and it's working all in these cloud services. All right, so enabling IT service is really how VMware sees its mission, or its value add, if you will. So they're enabling IT services to happen. And the whole point is anywhere, anytime access by end users. Now, I'm going to skip through some of this. I think we're all in agreement. Let's go right to the VMware roadmap. Okay, up here is your expert. This is the person that in theory could be like a CIO, CTO of a smaller or mid-sized company. A CIO, CTO of a large company is probably going to have been there, done that type skill before, right? This is a person who's going to design things, and others are going to implement those things. All right? Then we get into the VCP level, pardon me, the VCAP, which is the advanced professional. Now, this person is someone who probably can work independently on their own, can design things, etc., may even manage a shop. The VCP level, this is where we were originally teaching. This person is able to define design, implement a vSphere or a data center environment, or stand up the cloud products from VMware. Okay? This is a professional. If you hire someone that's passed this cert, you believe they can walk into your company and on day one, they can configure an entire virtualization environment or cloud on their own. Okay? These labs are much more intense for you to teach in the classroom. How many people in the room are teaching at the VCP level already? 3? Okay. So how many people do you teach a semester typically, Bill?
20 to 30.
How many of those get a job that complete the class and pass the cert?
If they take the class, pass the cert, they get a job.
Right away?
100%, within a month or two.
What market are you in, Bill? What city?
Oh, okay. Southern California, Orange County.
Okay. So high demand for IT professionals.
Yeah.
Okay. What's your experience? Same thing? VCP, they take the class, pass the cert, they get hired right away? You teach VCP, you said? Yeah, the same thing?
Same thing, and also, I'm getting one student back who are in the industry, they had some VMware exposure, but they want their jobs requiring them.
To get the VCP to stay. Yeah, okay. All right, so the question is, for those of you in the room that aren't teaching VCP, why not? A couple of reasons. I'll throw a shirt if you didn't get a shirt. I'll give you another shirt. Just, why aren't you teaching VCP?
For us, it's been a matter of inertia. Our curriculum was overfilled. We were at 59 hours, we were began to cut to 60. We actually had to eliminate one class in order to make room for half a semester.
Is it you can't get it into your syllabus for the course because of all the other things that you got? I mean, the course syllabuses?
You got the course flow?
Yeah, you've got so many other...
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah, we actually had to cut a couple of classes and then do some shuffling of content.
That's a good reason.
Classes, yeah, it took about 3 years.
Yeah. Unfortunately, by the time academia catches up with shifts in industry, the learner can suffer from the delay. It is what it is. Plus, in some states, I think California may do this, you've got roadmaps you have to follow. Is that the case?
They're putting yeah. Well, we're calling it roadblocks.
Roadblocks, yeah. Okay. All right. So other than that, is there any other reason people aren't teaching the VCP? Can't get it into your syllabus. You got too many courses already. Any other reason? Cost of NetLab. Yeah, NetLab is a barrier. I would agree. You got to have the budget or get a grant, figure out how to somebody to fund it. But Bill will share time with you. I'm kidding, Bill. Bill gave me a frown. The license does allow sharing, so we encourage the sharing. Okay, VCA. The VCA level. How many of you are teaching at the VCA? Raise your hand if you teach VCA. You do? Your intent is to. Okay, so you're not teaching VCA today. What if I told you you could teach VCA by simply joining the VMware IT Academy program and or not even joining it, and you could simply just start teaching VCA using stuff that's already free from VMware?
Stuff that's
already free from VMware. So, if you want to teach VCA and add it to one of your existing classes, there are already online videos that are available to you today. All you got to do is Google VCA, go to the VMware page, and you're going to find that there's little 4-hour videos that your students can watch. And they probably could go past the VCAs by just simply watching those videos. I would argue the best model is to give that to them as homework or challenge up. In other words, hey guys, here are links to these videos. I'm going to give this to you on day one. On your own, I want to see who will go do this. And then I'll challenge you up to see what you learned and what you can share with your peers. Motivate them individually. That's readily free today. I would encourage you, because I understand how vendor programs work, to join the VMware IT Academy, even though you could do VCA without joining it. Why would you think I would do that? Anybody ever heard of this thing called metrics? Anybody got a dean or administrator or president that's thrown the metric word around? So these guys have metrics too, and they pay attention to what they invest their money in. So Kim, if people join your program, does it help you tell a better story the next time you want to give another course? having participation in your program, is it easier to convince executives to spend more money?
Well, absolutely. I mean, for us too, like I keep saying, well, we don't have any partners, or if we don't add these things, then we can't engage. So we have to keep pace. Like, commercially, it's the same with academia. You're going to ask, okay, what's next? What are you doing in this space, right?
So I would say the numbers make a difference. So not realizing it, you guys probably make Dave's job hard. Let me explain. Because you don't know the values there, and he's trying to get you the free stuff. If his numbers aren't going up, he's probably got an executive that's asking him, why are your numbers not growing? In other words, if you're not absorbing the material, they're not going to want to invest in giving the material there. Make sense? So if you join the program, you actually help their metrics and their justification on the cost. The VCP level and the VCA are really not competing with each other. The VCA is an introduction. The VCP is the professional person doing the implementation. Okay? All right, here's a good little map that gives you a feel for things. If you were to look at this and you go, okay, I want to be a CCIE. Everybody know what a CCIE? A virtualization. You probably would be hanging somewhere around here, okay, in that outer loop. If you want to be a CCNP, you're hanging right about either VSP or VCP, depending on if you're going to be a technical guy or a sales guy, okay? Earlier, somebody mentioned we don't teach enough about sales. That would be the VSP level, and I would agree with them. You know, you're communicating or trying to sell more than you realize, probably. The VCA is just going to try to give somebody the business drivers and the use case for these different technologies. Whether you're talking VCA data center, VCA cloud, VCA mobility, VCA networking. Okay? It's just going to try to educate the learner. All right, so I'm not going to go through all these different benefits, but what I want you to see is notice we've got all these different values for your learners. Your learner can learn about virtualization at the entry level on a data center, running a data center, running cloud, running mobility devices, which is a big deal. How are we going to pass out all these apps? How are we going to scale as a business? And then here, network virtualization is going to be a game changer. You're going to hear more this year probably about software-defined networks than you ever remember in the past. You heard it as an acronym or a buzzword. Anybody know why? It drastically lowers the cost of ownership for everybody in the food chain, even whether they realize it or not. The fact that it becomes virtually defined is a game changer for businesses, industries, and people rolling out technologies to you. So this is going to become a big deal. So I would strongly consider, if you teach networking to students today, at least offer them the opportunity to watch this online module. So if you're just teaching them the basics of hardware device in front of them for networking, introduce them to virtualized networking.
You can say that video you have on there, I showed you my networking class, that video, and they were like, it was really well done.
It is really good online modules, and you can marry these modules to any course. All right, these VCA offerings are available to anybody that joins the VMware IT Academy, and you can find the 3-hour e-learning modules already out there if you want to use them. There's no prerequisites. In other words, you don't have to go past anything. You don't have to prove that you know how to do the cert. You can use these modules. They're all ready to go. All right? They're all out there for you. Okay? So if you're interested in the VCA certification, VMware is also providing, I think, a 75% discount. So those of you who join the VMware IT Academy, your students can get a huge discount in vouchers. It's already available to all your VMware IT Academy participants already. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I want to point out a few learning paths, and then I want to give you some overview of some lab things that we do with NetLab around these offerings. So depending on who you're interacting with, you may want to visit this Learning Paths website, and it kind of points you down the track that you need to be on, depending on what you want to teach or the learning objectives of your students. It's VMwareLearningPaths.com. All right, so it's a good little resource, and you might have some students that want to check this out as they're trying to figure out what they want to do in their career. All right, I'm not going to highlight this too much, but what I would say is the VCA or these e-learning online modules, you can add them to your existing classes. You'll find them easy to consume and understand, all the way to the high-end instructor-led training, which is mainly going to be your VCP. I think most schools are going to want to teach VCP Data Center. A few want to teach VCP Cloud, maybe. I would strongly consider the VDI offering, mobility, because it's a big deal in industry. It's a huge deal at your school. You can, if you virtualize your desktops, you could lower your hardware costs drastically. So all those Perkins dollars you're spending on computers in the classroom, go back and try to get your CIO, your CTO, whoever is the technologist, to look at VDI, and they could save a boatload of their budget on hardware and spend it on other things versus desktops in the room by implementing VDI, mobility. Big deal and money savings. All right, so I'm gonna shift from all these offerings. They're all on the website. They're all available. You can see there's a lot of content that's available to you. Tons of courses. Costs nothing to join, so there's no reason not to join. So let's do some labs real quick. What I've got in one set is the VCA lab for data center. And anybody that wants it, I can give you one. Let's see which one. This is VCA, and then I have the VCP level. So if you'd like to do VCA, you can walk out of the room, and for 2 weeks you can do the VCA labs. Anybody want them? Okay. There you go. Yes. Oh, sorry. So you can also have the VCP. I'll get you. Yep. I'll pass those on next. I would watch the e-learning for that VCA data center before you do these labs. All right. And some folks wanted the VCP. I heard them rumbling as I was walking around. Not the VCA, the VCP. I'm going to go over the differences in the two from a lab context. VCA data center is about 9 labs. VCP is more like 20. And the level of complexity of the VCP labs is much higher, as you would expect. If I was teaching this in the classroom, I would teach EMC Information Storage Management, EMC Cloud Infrastructure Services, and then after the student was confident in the VCA, because you can align those to the VCA, I would teach the VCP level. Do you want VCP? No. Okay. No problem. All right, so I'm going to go over what these are all about. Because of time, we're running out of a little time. I'm going to do a slide real quick that I want to share with everyone. I don't know if you folks remember Eric Spangler. I mentioned this last session. Eric did a lot in our sector for getting funding to a lot of people. He also did a lot of groundbreaking stuff in cybersecurity. But Eric passed away last year, and Moraine Valley, who he worked for, put together a scholarship fund, and they're aiming it towards a student who will be in our sector, preferably somebody that may teach one day in our sector. So if this is a value, look up the Moraine Valley Community College Foundation. I think Eric did a lot of really good things for a lot of students and instructors. So I contributed in trying to get the word out about it. All right, so I'm going to show you a few things, but I want to make sure you're aware we do a lot of different labs and courses. You can go to register.netdevgroup.com. I've got shirts up here. Some of you already got them. If you didn't get them earlier, I got plenty. I'm not worried about running out as long as everybody in the room gets at least one. If you'll Google this and find our website and go to register, then our URL, you can ask for lab time. Just use your school email. They'll only give you lab time if you use your school email and say you're an instructor. All right? Now, jumping on our website, man, it really gets bad when you can't see. What kind of glasses do I need here? All right. So I'm going to first go to the EMC labs and I want to show you something that I think is a really nice tie-in. This information storage management class, if you are not teaching it, I strongly could say at least get the book and look through it. Encourage your students to learn the concepts. This Cloud Infrastructure Services is purposely aligned to the VCA data center that you've just got access to. There are 5 labs. They're going to introduce you to vSphere and vCenter, data store implementation, networking the VDC, benefits of vMotion and storage, hardware availability. Now, that is not going to end up, if you do those 5 labs, with you being competent or selling yourself as a competent IT person working with VMware. All these labs are designed to do is to give someone the opportunity to watch the 3-4 hour e-learning module for VCA Data Center and then actually do something around it so they'll understand what they watched by doing. That is the only goal. There's nothing like watching and never having the chance to play around. It's simply designed to allow the learner to play around. Now, this is purposely set up to align to EMC's Cloud Infrastructure Services course. So if you were to teach the EMC CIS course to a business student that was not on an IT track, these 9 labs are purposely written not to be over their head, but be very prescriptive, so they would learn things about storage and cloud computing at a more granular level, even though it's a very high-level overview. Okay? They are definitely not going to be a professional when they walk out. This is EMC CIS Lab Library, but purposely we've aligned it to the VCA Data Center. Now, if your students are motivated and you're motivated, you can do even more labs that we offer that go beyond these areas. You can do it with CIS, and your students can walk out with as many as 4 certifications. Okay? So all you gotta do is watch those online videos I highlighted and do the labs, and you should be in a good place as a learner. Now I'm going to go to the VMware IT Academy program. Now the labs that we support for them are more at the VCP level, but we have those VCA alignments with the EMC Cloud course. Most of our customers, if they don't join the EMC, are going to teach the e-learning, watch the video on your own, then do the labs as part of another course. Some will align it with EMC CIS. I hope most, because that's the most value to their learners. The VCP level is the install, configure, manage, and I want you to look at this, the difference in granularity of learning. So you've got many more labs, but at the very top, you're going to start out with configuring vSphere. Does anybody know what vSphere is, what components are? We've got 2 major components, right? We've got ESXi servers that we rack and stack, and that's what we're going to fool into thinking that there are many different hardware platforms running on one. So we're going to take one pizza box and make it look like 100 pizza boxes running ESXi, right? Then what we're going to do is we're going to use vCenter, which is the second component of the vSphere suite, and we're going to have vCenter manage all of our ESXi servers. So we can then talk to vCenter's APIs and write code to manage vCenter. So that's what's going on at the data center level. We're going to teach this learner how to actually configure vCenter and ESXi through a managed process of labs. But they better roll up their sleeve if they're going to go sit for the cert. They're going to have to work. It is a 1-semester course, but they're going to have to work. Whereas the CIS course, you can kind of chill, learn the process, because it's a much higher level of learning. Okay, everybody kind of got the difference? How many of you will probably at least go study the VCA to see if there's value to your learners now? Okay, then I've met my goal. Those of you that are not raising your hand, is it just you won't raise your hand no matter what I ask? Because I said that earlier. And okay, all right. If I've not done a good job explaining the difference in VCA and VCP, I apologize. I hope you'll come chat with me about it. If I haven't convinced you the VCA is of value to your learners, that's my fault, because I am confident that if you're teaching Cisco networking, Microsoft IT Academy, if your student will get the VCA, they're going to stand out from their peers that do not get the VCA. That's the main thing I hope you walk away from the room from. And there's plenty of resources available for you to help get your students there. And by the way, the CIS course, NDG will host for you right now. You don't need any equipment. The CIS labs, we will host them for you. You don't need anything. We'll just do it for you. So you probably go, why are we doing that? Because people are not getting the message that the CIS course is of great value and the VCA is great value. So we're just trying to pass it out so people realize it's of great value. Okay. All right, I got shirts, and that's it for my pitch.